The shock defeat is unlikely to halt the two-time world champions' march to the Premier Limited Overs tournament. The Caribbeans are still favourites to clinch the first qualification slot. Who gets the second berth, though, is still anybody's guess. Three nations are in with a shout.
Ireland, they've played some very good cricket all round. Scotland as well, I would like to think they are a dark horse of the tournament. And Zimbabwe, the horse, I mean, they have shown that they can bowl teams out.
But the host nation's deficiencies with the bat, which have restricted it to low-scoring innings, need to be fixed in the make-or-break Super Sixes.
We need more batsmen to come to the party. Great to see that Craig Irvine scored some runs against Scotland. He got himself a 50. So hopefully that's a little bit of form and return to form for him. We need Raza to find that little bit extra that he had. We've had a little bit of runs from Hamilton, Masakadza, but it's been sporadic. The good news for Zimbabwe in trying to qualify for the World Cup is that they have so many little things that they can work on, little 5-10 percenters that can make them so much better.
Apart from home advantage, Zimbabwe is banking on a never-say-die attitude that propelled it through the first round and which could see it all the way through to qualification.
They just need to be the masters of their own destiny. I think Zimbabwe need to play each and every of their three games with an intent to win them. They need to win at least 2 games, but they mustn't go with that mindset. I think they need to approach every game with the intention of winning.
So far, so good for the Southern African nation, whose potent bowling attack helped it dispatch Ireland by 107 runs on Friday. The United Arab Emirates, then the West Indies, stand in the way of Zimbabwe's bid to reclaim a place amongst the game's elite. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Right, let's take you back to Harare, where we're following up on Zimbabwe's World Cup qualification journey. Hopefully all is in order now. CGTN's Farai Mwakutuya joins us now from the Zimbabwean capital. Farai, so close for the team, yet just not there yet. What is the journey been like for the Chevron so far?
Well, I think it has been very dramatic. You know, the first round of games, Zimbabwe kicked off with a very comfortable 116-run victory over Nepal. Thereafter, the drama began. You know, a 2-run victory over Afghanistan, a real nail-biter there. And then, you know, a match that went right to the wire, a draw against Scotland. Many people didn't give, you know, Zimbabwe a chance against Ireland in the first game of the Super Sixes, but, you know, they clearly defied everyone. And that's the drama that we're speaking about on this campaign so far. When people didn't expect them to do so well, they came up with this very convincing victory over Ireland. And so, so far, so good. Zimbabwe, I think, in a pretty good position, very high on confidence. And, you know, I think they have it, you know, it's for them to lose now. You know, they can be the masters of their own destiny. They just need to keep playing the way they've been playing. Perhaps put more runs on the board, because the challenge that they faced is, you know, scoring low totals, setting very low totals, and perhaps not batting through the entire innings. If they can address those issues, then I think, you know, they certainly have a very good chance of making it through to, you know, the World Cup. Studio.
And of course, Farai, it doesn't get any easier for them. Up next, they're facing the 2-time World Cup winners, West Indies, on Monday. How prepared do you think they are for the assignment, knowing that they're not just carrying the hopes of Zimbabweans, but also the whole continent?
Well, I think from a psychological point of view, this is probably the best position that Zimbabwe could go into this game, coming off a very convincing and confidence-boosting victory on Friday, coming up against a team that everyone thought was invincible until they were beaten by Afghanistan. Zimbabwe has already beaten Afghanistan in this tournament, and so they all feel that, you know, they have a pretty good chance if everything goes their way, if they're able to play, you know, with this never-say-die attitude that they've had throughout their games, then certainly they're in with a chance. They also playing in front of the home crowd, so that will be a factor that will also drive them. Bearing in mind that, you know, we expect that there'll be some sort of response or reaction from the West Indies after the defeat, the shock defeat that they suffered. Perhaps Zimbabwe may be in line for that backlash, but certainly this will be a game where the West Indies, very aggressive batting attack will come up against what has been so far a very potent and effective bowling lineup by Zimbabwe. If Zimbabwe is able to bowl the way that it's done, perhaps they have a good chance of bowling out the West Indies. And as I said before, if they can put more runs on the board, then that'll give them a pretty good chance. So psychologically, I think the best possible place, the best possible form to be able to take on the West Indies.
And speaking about the hosts' chances and preparations, at this point, are they receiving any support from either the government or other stakeholders as they prepare for the big match?
Well, I think, the support, the currency that they are getting in terms of support here is a lot of emotional and moral support, a lot of people turning out and supporting them. Not much in terms of material support because of where the game is coming from. There hasn't been a lot of sponsorship coming into the game. Government, because it's cash-strapped and facing all sorts of challenges, hasn't been able to assist in any way as well. But we expect that if Zimbabwe is able to go through and qualify for this World Cup, then the goodwill that they've created, the fact that they're able to bounce back and go to this very prestigious tournament, we'll see some of the sponsors that had abandoned the game or that were holding back their sponsorship start to come back. Everyone's also expecting that, the economy will pick up under this new dispensation in Zimbabwe. Hopefully that will also avail opportunities for more sponsors to come. But ultimately, I think the money will follow success. The more Zimbabwe wins, the more Zimbabwe does well, the more it will be able to attract that sort of sponsorship and support.
All right, Farai, thank you very much for those updates. That was CGTN's Farai Mwakutuya joining us live there from Harare as the team prepares for their match against the West Indies, coming off a morale-boosting win over Ireland on Friday.